D-Lo for boxing. All right, y'all. So let me talk about Josh Taylor for just a minute, and I guess Josh Taylor and Jermall Charlo. So I saw the question posed in one of the Facebook groups, or maybe it was just a post by someone that I'm familiar with from the Facebook groups. And the question was, why are people, basically it was, why are people not so outraged or, going so hard on Josh Taylor about his inactivity as they are with Jermall Charlo? And just to give a little background, we all know Jermall Charlo's been out of the ring for quite a while. Jermall Charlo is a WBC champion, having been elevated to champion after Canelo Alvarez didn't fight him for whatever reason it was, and they elevated Jermall to champion and they made Canelo franchise champion. Since that time, Jermall has, fought about, I think he's probably had about 5 fights. But, no blockbuster type fights, nothing to really get terribly excited about. I think the fight that he had that was probably the most looked forward to or most anticipated was probably the Derevyanchenko fight. And he took care of business in that fight, looked real good. The last fight he had was against Montiel, who had fought at as low as welterweight. And, that was a fight in which people picked Charlo was a big-time favorite. People expected Charlo to go out there and get an early stoppage to mid-round stoppage. And Charlo was in tough with this guy. He wasn't in jeopardy of losing the fight, but he was in a fight. I mean, it was a tough fight. Took a lot out of both guys. And afterwards, Charlo, he looked worse for wear coming out of that fight. As for Josh Taylor, Josh Taylor recently, he became undisputed at 140. His most recent fight was against Jack Catterall, where he defended all 4 belts. And he basically, coming out of that fight, a lot of people felt like he got a hometown decision or, basically got a favorable decision that some felt like he didn't deserve. Some feel like he did enough to edge out the victory. Some feel like Catterall did enough to squeak out a victory. But at the end of the day, they're going to do it again. And that fight was just announced for March. Now, by them fighting in March, what that does is that makes it to where both guys, because I don't think Catterall's had an interim bout. I could be mistaken, but I don't think he's fought since the Josh Taylor fight. If he has, then I've forgotten about it. But either way, Josh Taylor for sure will have been out of the ring for 13 months by the time he fights Catterall. Okay, by comparison, Jermall Charlo has already been out of the ring like a year and a half, going on a year and a half at this point. And that's, it's just December. This isn't talking about adding another 2 months, 3 months on adding March, going all the way up to March. And the other thing is Charlo doesn't seem to have a fight on the horizon. There's no talk of him having anything coming down the pipe. It looks like we saw him pushing up on Bivol, but we don't know what that was about. I mean, that's not a fight that's fixing to be made. That's almost a certainty. So who knows what he's trying to do? We know that Andre's been saying he wants him. Andre has a fight. So even though I like Andre and I think Andre and Charlo is a great fight, I'm not coming out here making videos every day talking about Andre and Charlo because Andre has to take care of his business. Now, after he comes out of there, if he starts talking Charlo again, then I'm going to talk about it. But I'm not real big on talking about guys calling out guys when either of the guy has a fight already lined up. And anyone who's followed my channel any amount of time can notice that thing. But having given all of that background on the 2 fighters, like I said, just refreshing y'all. Most anyone who watches this knows most of the stuff I just mentioned. This is what my response was as to why I'm not looking at Josh Taylor in the same light as I'm looking at Jermall Charlo. For one, they haven't been out of the ring nearly the same amount of time. I can remember the last time Josh Taylor had a fight versus another top-level guy in his division. Josh Taylor was a champion who entered a tournament in which he could not choose his opponents, and he went through that tournament becoming undisputed along the way and won the whole thing. Coming out of that tournament, instead of taking a soft touch, he finds his way to a fight versus Jose Ramirez, who also was undisputed at the time, to fight Ramirez was unified at the time, and Josh Taylor was unified. If I said Josh Taylor was undisputed, my mistake. But coming out of that tournament, he fights Jose Ramirez for an undisputed showdown at 140, winning that fight and becoming undisputed. He fights Jack Catterall. People feel like Catterall might have won the fight. Josh Taylor could have went elsewhere. He ended up being stripped of some of his belts. Basically now, instead of being undisputed, he only has the WBO belt. And who is he going to defend it against? Catterall. The same guy that people feel like beat him. Well, by comparison, if we look at Jermall Charlo, coming out of that fight versus Montiel, a lot of people felt like, he should give Montiel another opportunity because of the way the fight went. I wasn't one of those people, but I could understand. I've seen fights in which guys fought a guy a little closer than, people expected, and they went back and done it again to show that they can do it better. Now, I wouldn't have had anything to say negatively about Jermall Charlo had he done that. Okay? The same thing when Jermall fought Matt Coroball. A lot of people felt like Matt Coroball beat Jermall Charlo. I wasn't one of them, but a lot of people did. And that was a fight that was close enough to where if he had fought a rematch, it would have been well respected. Because Coroball fought him tough enough to where a rematch, especially with neither guy, both guys knowing that they're fighting each other, because that was a short notice fight. That would have been a good build up. It probably would have been a fight people would have looked forward to be honest. And by comparison, if you look at who Charlo's fought since Coroball, Coroball would have been a better opponent than a lot of the guys he's fought. My response to the poster who posed the question, the last thing I said was, when Jermall Charlo starts doing anything remotely close to what Josh Taylor has done at 140, I think people may give him a break. People may cut him some slack. People may get off his case a little bit. But the way things are right now, and the way things have been going in his career, to me, I understand why people are giving him a hard time about the inactivity. This is a guy that people had a lot of high hopes for and expectations for, myself being one of them. And then to see the guy sitting on the shelf and inactive for whatever reason, it's cause for concern, and it's a topic of discussion. Now, if he has something going on that he needs to take care of and it's not the right time for him to be in the ring, then I understand that. But as a boxing fan, I understand that boxing fans want to see him in the ring, and they're gonna have conversations about what's going on with him. And they're gonna be critical of him not being in the ring, but being at fights, pulling up on guys that he has, no line toward fighting. But that's all I got on it. D-Lo 404 Boxing. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.